it's in now. Echo. Can you hear me then?
Yeah, I can hear
Okay.
you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
I should turn up. Okay.
Three minutes.
It's the final countdown.
Two minutes.
Paella gods of Spain, please be gentle with me. Forgiving.
Okay, time to go.
Bienvenidos, buenas noches desde Valencia, comunidad en España. Me llamo Joespaña. Welcome, good evening from the Valencian community in the hinterlands of Spain. My name is Joespaña. I'll be your cook for this evening. And I'm joined by Anne Lee, a retired college professor and community member at the Daily Kos. They're a member of the National Council of Independent Scholars and is a contributor to the book, The Political Economy of Art, Making the Nation of Culture. Evening, Anne.
Hola.
Oh, yeah.
Hola.
Well, it seems like we've got a new cuisine or a cuisine I haven't cooked in a long while that we need to start covering since Israel and the US are bombing another country now. I was thinking I would make a traditional salad, cucumber salad, Iranian cucumber salad, and maybe the tahdig rice, the crispy bottomed rice that's very famous in Iran. But since we're still in Spain, and since our last Spanish meal we were gonna make, so I think I should probably try to make paella for everybody. I Last time we were in Spain, I believe I made fideuà con verduras. That's a pasta. It's like a paella with pasta instead of rice. I don't think I've
Ooh.
actually ever made rice on the show, but uh, we're gonna make. Well, I guess I'm not. According to my friend Omar, apparently I'm not gonna make paella. I'm gonna commit so much sacrilege. Perdóname, mi amigo. Yo soy blasfemo. I am a blasphemer. I am going to use garlic. I've come across many recipes. So, muchas recetas con ajo and paella. Many recipes with ajo with the garlic. But if you walk over to the next street, if you walk over to the next village, the next town, everybody's got a different way to make it. And there's all these rules and regulations. And I know I'm going to commit crimes here this evening, but we hope that the paella gods will will be like with me. Uh, I've probably got way too many vegetables on here to begin with. So I was kind of hoping people would help me out in deciding what to make, considering we don't even have a. I mean, I don't even know where to begin to tell you the truth. I've got to begin with. I've got garlic, which is a crime. You shouldn't use garlic in your paella. Apparently, I'll be using freshly foraged herbs. Maybe the rosemary is too overpowering to pick up the saffron. I don't know. Oh, and on top of that, I've got gochujang, Korean chili pepper we brought back with us because it's the only spicy thing we've got in the house with us. In addition to the traditional Nora pepper, which is a smoked, more sweet pepper. But in addition
Nice.
to all of those complexities, we don't even have a flame here with orange wood. I've got a standard electric stove with a tiny skillet here, so limited on size. So we've got maybe I was thinking some aubergine medallions. I thought we would get three artichokes, but I think we can only do one artichoke. We've got udias, the green beans. We've got peppers here. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to do, but we're going to try to do it as quickly as possible and without it getting too overcrowded. And the key thing is that we need to get the sucarot, which is the singed rice or the crispy bottomed rice. after the liquid evaporates. But I'll get going, get cracking on the prep, and I'm going to interrupt you a lot, Anne, because there's a lot of steps
Okay.
to point out. So I
Okie doke.
hope you please don't be offended.
Not
But
a no,
but
no,
you
not a problem.
and you can take your sweet time because this is definitely going to take at least an hour.
All righty. Okay, sweet time. Um,
Oof,
I don't know if I want to show
bittersweet, maybe.
my we'll see. I'm surprised that you're blaspheming by using garlic. I would have thought that most Spanish dishes include garlic. Well, maybe that's not true.
You would think so. If you go into the grocery store and you get these pre-made uh, paella spice mix, they've got
Yeah.
freeze-dried garlic. If you go into the
Mm.
pre-made sofrito, so one of the other things that I'm gonna make sofrito
Uh-huh.
in the pan without having done it prior. Uh, but the fried tomato is also with onion and garlic usually. So uh, there's this. My guess is that this is a specific paella of a specific place that they just don't. Or maybe they're Buddhist. I don't know.
Well, I'll let you get to it.
Thank you.
I I had contemplated showing the new flag in front of the White House. It was described as a 100-foot flag, but the reality is that it is an 80-foot flag, although the mythology that's being built around it is that it is an 88-foot flag, which it isn't, flagpole that is, because if it were 88, uh, it would signify the code for white supremacy or neo-Nazis, that is 88, HH
Mhm.
or 88, which is Heil Hitler in some white supremacy circles. So that's not quite happening, although close, very close. And I think somewhat intentional. Anyway, the damn thing looks ugly. It's really big, and it's too big. I would say too big for one's view of a modest little White House. And I wrote a thing that suggested that Trump doing it is not unlike, without getting too pedantic, um, Robert Venturi and Denny Scott Brown co-wrote a book on learning from Las Vegas, and it was about Las Vegas architecture. More specifically, talking about this idea of a kind of decorated shed, and that describes many Las Vegas casino hotels, because it's not so much about the building as it is about the gaudy sign that is in front. Well, that I think that's one era of casino and hotel construction in Las Vegas. But the idea was that the formative artwork, as it were, as a or the architecture as art, was supposed to be embodied in the building, whereas in Las Vegas, it's embodied in the sign. And similarly, by putting up an even huger, flagpole and flag, damn thing is really big. It resembles, at least in my experience, the only places that have very tall flagpoles and really large flags are car dealerships and
Mhm.
truck stops. So it, Trump's trying to do something there, and he put in two flagpoles, so you could say that it's a double 88 in that sense. But I don't. That's pushing it. Anyway, I compared it in my little piece to the burning of the White House in 1814 by the British. Pretty much it's the same kind of idea. Uh, it's trying to delimit the meaning of the White House itself and rather focus it on the flag. And we all know how much Trump sort of I don't know, jokes around, let's put it that way, since he's kind of a prop comedian, how he embraces the flag, as they say. So that's so I did a thing there with that, but also suggested that putting a big flag out there and doing all these cosmetic things because Trump started to the demolition of the lawn of the Rose Garden. They're going to put in some sort of patio. I don't know if it's going to be stone or whatever. I assume it's going to be stone of some kind, an interesting stone, hopefully. Um, uh, but Trump wanted a patio. Essentially, he wanted it like Mar-a-Lago. He didn't like the fact that women in high heels were going to have a tough time on this on the grass. It's so typical Trump about the difference between new money and old money, ostensibly, in terms of attending to country club style. But aside from that, both of those things are happening this week, and we have two flagpoles, something something tall. They're tall enough, as written in articles, that they could be a danger to the landing of Marine One, the helicopter. And although I think it's technically below the minimum, the height limit for the necessity, put a little red, lamp on top, a warning light on top of the darn thing. Although I think it'd probably be a good idea to put one up there because on a bad day, you could it would be pretty terrible to snag a helicopter on one of those flagpoles. So things to look forward to. So that was
I'm
one
glad to
thing.
hear. I'm glad to hear about that. I thought they were just planning to make war on another country, but
Oh yeah, well indeed,
nice
that's
to hear
part
they're
of it too.
occupied.
Yeah, I haven't even started on the war yet.
Oh,
Um, the other part of the thing I wrote was Elon Musk described this one guy who is called Sergio Gore. But this guy Sergio Gore, who is technically the director for personnel, presidential personnel, uh, is actually a Russian by the name of what's it, Grusky or something. His real name is is something quite different, and Elon Musk describes him as a snake. So this is all quite interesting. It's getting more crazy that this guy, he used to be the deputy chief of staff for Rand Paul. In fact, Rand Paul he's Rand Paul's sort of fixer for going to Russia. That's when Gore joined. This guy Sergio Gore joined Rand Paul's team in 2019 when Rand Paul spent a week in Moscow or in Russia generally. So there's that. That's kind of interesting. It's kind of weird too, in that sense that nobody in the press is making any kind of deal out of this guy, who some people, Sergei Goryachev, who may be from Kazakhstan, he might be from Russia itself. Saratov is where he's from technically, but anyway. So we hope that somebody's going to look into this a little bit further. If you can be reminded of the first Trump term, Trump spent a lot of time with the personnel people because he wanted the power to hire and fire people because that's his it's his brand, right? To hire and fire. So that there's great emphasis placed on that. And if I were in Russia's intelligence service, I would certainly try and position somebody like that because they would be able to tell the Home Office exactly what Krasnov or alias Don Trump is doing. So there was that. That's one element of the current doings at the White House. We haven't talked about the war yet. The war started since we last talked. Um, it was a missile attack, a massive missile attack, very well coordinated, 200 airplanes, plus missiles, I think, maybe cruise missiles, but I think generally it was guided ordnance from airplanes, and it's unclear. And one doesn't, there was lots of disinformation. I assume that F-35s were part of the attack if they had 200 planes, because they don't. I mean, they have a lot of planes, but a majority of the air fleet, the Israeli air fleet, is F-15s and F-16s, and I guess they have Mirages still. Um, so the Dassault Mirages. Anyway, apparently they lost no airplanes in this massive frontal attack. They attacked nuclear enrichment sites, a heavy water plant, um, a reactor facility, a bunch of places. There's a lot of things that got bombed. They were all mainly facilities like that. But in order to punctuate their little attack, they decided they would knock off some very important people. The head of the Republican Guard, the head of intelligence, the deputy, whatever, and so they knocked off maybe 20% of the ruling the ruling group of Iran. And there was some other disinformation in the past week that Trump supposedly, this is to burnish his peacemaking credentials, that Trump resisted or insisted that they don't knock off Khamenei, the Ayatollah. It's unclear, actually, who said what or whether Trump had anything to do with any of this. Not that he didn't have anything to do with it. It's pretty clear he knew what was going to happen, which is why he went home early from the G7. Lots of stuff happened. He got out of the G7 to avoid talking to Zelensky. That's one side of it. He's annoyed at Macron for X number of reasons. And of course, um, uh, uh, what's his name? Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, decided to bring the hammer down when Trump decided to do a campaign speech, essentially during a presser with all of the G7. It was pretty bizarre that essentially, the Prime Minister of Canada stepped right in and said, "Well, we better stop this." So he just cut Trump off. So I think Trump was generally annoyed that they just make fun of him anyway. Uh, and he fell asleep. I think there's this underlying trope that Trump does fall asleep in meetings. He fell asleep at his little birthday parade, and he fell asleep at, you know, stuff like that happened. A lot of stuff happened. It's very weird. And needless to say, you know, the it, we haven't even gotten to the domestic stuff yet. So yes, there
Oh,
was an attack.
slow down, slow down. I think you're talking too fast.
Oh,
We
all
got
right.
plenty to do here. Slice a finger off.
Oh, careful. All right. Your turn.
So we gonna prepare the sliced onions and the tomato for the sofrito after we've quickly pre-cooked the beans here. We've got the beans that have been crisped up nice. And we've got the artichokes cooking. They don't need too long. Oh, maybe that's a little too fast. I'm not accustomed to working on back on these standard electric stoves. There we go. Those are nice and brown. Okay, good. So after we do this, we're gonna cook the onions. Back to you, man.
Anyway, Iran got attacked. People died in bombing, precision bombing. In other words, civilian targets were hit by the Israelis, but there are very few of them. Um, the only ones that were hit were sort of ruling junta kind of stuff in Iran, and of course it knocked power out, and there's air alerts and anti-aircraft artillery and all kinds of stuff happened. But at the front end, what the Israelis did was they took out essentially um, most of the. I think what they did, this because it hasn't been described completely yet. There hasn't been a lot of descriptions of what exactly happened, but apparently, and this is a more common doctrine, is radiation weapons were used that knocked out the Iranian air defense. So essentially, or at least the claim is by both the Israelis and Trump decided to brag about it on social media, is that the Israelis control the airspace over Iran.
Mm.
I'm not sure that they completely control it. I'm just thinking that the Iranians, having had a lot of their radar knocked out, are just biding their time. They don't want to lose anything
Mm.
else. And it also shows how efficient and effective, with all due respect, the Israeli military is in the Air Force is in knocking stuff out. So they've essentially tried to hit all of the nuclear enrichment and ancillary facilities in Iran. The fact is, they didn't get all of them, and much of the last couple of days has been speculating about this one, the Fordo site, Fordow or Forda site that's located in a mountain, and we're not sure because there's lots of different estimations on how deep it's dug into the mountain, but it's dug deeply into a mountain, and everyone is arguing about how deep uh, bunker buster bombs work. The Israelis have used up, I don't know. I'm not sure what the biggest weapon they have, but it's nowhere near the 14-ton, um, uh, uh, ordnance that the United States has. The United States has a bunker buster weapon, an FOP, that penetrator weapon, as they say, but it has a 14-ton shell, and it's a 30,000-pound piece of ordnance or whatever. It's got a big bomb. Let's put it that way, and it's supposed to
Is,
drill down 200 feet and explode.
is this
Now, what?
the Moab, the mother of all
No,
bombs?
no. Moab's bigger. Moab has 40,000 pound or whatever
Oh shit! I
pounds of.
forgot. I've got yet another vegetable I forgot from last week. The butternut squash.
Get that in there.
Well, oh look at that. We need some alternate green. It's too much green going on. So
It'll make a good color.
yeah.
Anyway, the U.S. has a weapon that may do the job, but it will be embarrassing if it doesn't do the job. So that's kind of going on in some circles. And Trump, as is his wont, because he dithers and because he chickens out, Mr. Taco, Trump always chickens out. Um, I think he's going to chicken out. He's not gonna use that weapon. He's not going to order the use of that weapon because once the United States gets involved in this activity, all heck can break loose. I mean, aside from the front end, which is just the no one knew that the Israelis were going to do it, although you could guess that something wag the dog like was going to happen because I think it's week before last, Netanyahu got indicted for his this bribery thing that has always been hanging over his head, or another bribery thing that has been another
Yet another.
corruption thing but the court obviously is not on his side, and they indicted him a week ago. And I would say that it it's nice to bomb things to take the heat off all that other genocide. And I find it, it's just interesting, the propaganda on which genocide is more important, or
Mhm.
whatever. It's just very frightening to see the way the news framing has been. Needless to say, since the initial attack, Israeli attacks are very sporadic now, and I think it was never going to be a full scale invasion or a full scale air attack on all of Iran's assets, because they actually do have a lot of assets, and the proof of that is I don't know, it's going to be 1,000 at the final end, probably, or 2,000 Iranian missiles have been launched, and they're ballistic missiles of a whole range that have a lot of different ranges. They're intermediate to they didn't use their two-stage ballistic missile that they do have, but they used a whole range of ballistic missiles that they've launched against Tel Aviv primarily, and they've done it to obviously terrorize the population. Although they're trying to hit military targets, the Iranians hit a hospital when they were aiming at a military intelligence site about a mile away. So whatever. Iranian aiming is not quite as good. Their target capability is not quite as good. Anyway, they have been launching missiles, and people have been dying. It's a fair number of folks are terrorized in Tel Aviv, and um, Netanyahu's popularity is not faring well. His son was in a bunker with a bunch of other people, and everyone decided to attack his son. I mean, he didn't get hurt, but it's pretty clear there was a kerfuffle of some kind, which was kind of interesting. There's a little bit of video of it, not very clear. So that's happening. Needless to say, I guess it was another 50 people. Yeah, it's on the average, 25 to 50 people get hurt every day in Gaza. And so, one should not forget Gaza, particularly when the trope of genocide is out there being used to defend an attack on Iran. And not that I'm defending Iran, it's just that pretty weird to see what's going on. And as I said, the what makes it weirder is, of course, Trump sort of piggybacking his taunts for the Iranians on that. He taunted that the everyone should evacuate Tehran. It was just BS. I mean, there were attacks on Tehran. They hit the state television studios and took the complete building out this 2 days ago, and pretty spectacular actually. But it's a very that's standard operating procedure. If you're going to do air superiority, you're going to hit certain kinds of things, and
Which we should point out is a war crime, technically, right?
oh, indeed, indeed. I mean, war crimes have already been,
Hmm.
it's just up and down the road. This is all illegal crap. Uh, um, and people have died. Just, the Iranian TV was on the air when the bombs hit, so there was that. Uh, it's a pretty frightening little piece of audio that NPR played. The thing they're describing, well, it looks like something's coming, and then boom. It had that kind of pre-recorded explosion sound that you kind of hear on cartoons, and that's what it sounded like. It was pretty weird to hear that. So that's what's happening. And the point of all of this, ultimately, at least from the US point of view, and what Trump is pimping, essentially, is regime change. And this is the whole business, and all of the discourse came up again. Why there was a nuclear agreement, when Trump came to office, he pulled out of it. And at the same moment that he pulled out of it, the Iranians decided to increase their enrichment of nuclear material. Now, what they've done, of course, the IAEA was overseeing this still. Um, they went up to the line in terms of enrichment. That's kind of where they are in terms of uranium enrichment. And claims on the US side were that, well, we should join in because, as Israel has said for the last 30 years, uh, Iran has the capability to, build a bomb. And they've said this for decades now. And it's just, there's no bomb. Um, and as recently as March, Tulsi Gabbard said that the intelligence estimate was that there wasn't any. Then again, we recall the Iraq war and whether there was or wasn't weapons of mass destruction. And we know what happened then. That has kind of carried over. Trump said he didn't believe Tulsi Gabbard, among others, who said, that they don't have it. Whether they have or they have not is sort of an interesting question. We'd know a little bit more if the IAEA people were back in there. But of course, that's not the point for our particular presidential administration. So that's where we are. Bombing is occurring. People are getting in traffic jams trying to get the hell out of Tehran. Um, it is interesting to see a lot of people who are just very dissatisfied, and of course, you have the morality police, etc. And everyone is imagining, well, what would Iran be without the morality police? So that's kind of going on there. I mean, and
Well,
it's just all horrible. I mean, from that side, it's just Iranian culture has been totally screwed up by that. But that's a measure of the Islamic Revolution and the fact that we put the Shah in there. And in fact, they even interviewed the Shah's son, who is kind of appearing as though he thinks he has a place in a new government, and which is really so weird to see how that happens. Anyway,
so we made the sofrito before I comment on the Israeli president. Made the sofrito, which is a sauteed onion, garlic, and tomato, fresh tomato, with some of the traditional pepper and smoked pepper here, some smoky taste. Since we don't have
uh-huh,
the orange wood smoke on our fire.
cool.
Next is to put in our rice and saute that a bit. So the ración is un taza de arroz till tres agua. So one to three.
So that's just a standard
This is
rice, right? It's not parboiled
a
or whatever.
special Paella brand. It's a typical
Ah,
paella rice. So it's different from risotto, but similar. And we need to fry this a bit, and then we add our saffron and maybe cheat a little with some gurkame or haldi, or what's it in English?
cumin?
Turmeric. Turmeric.
Oh,
Turmeric.
turmeric. Yes.
Turmeric. Yeah. Some of that in.
You're not going to put any water in that, right?
We're going to put stock, vegetable stock.
Right. Okay.
But it's nice to hear that finally the Israeli, or at least one politician, the Israeli president, is finally acknowledging that bombing hospitals is a war crime.
It's only when their own hospitals get bombed. Christ. What the upshot of this is that the Israeli air defense.
Forgot that herbios.
The upshot of this is that the Israeli air defense is not as impenetrable as they claim. Let's just put it that way. Iron Dome,
Mhm.
etc. That
Yeah.
is, Iron Dome works real well if you're, dealing with Hezbollah. Uh, but it is when Iran suddenly decides that they're going to shoot their much bigger ballistic missiles at you, it doesn't quite hold. They actually managed to get in there. They're not quite as accurate, but they people have been getting hurt and in Tel Aviv, and I think it's disrupted
Mhm.
a lot of people's sense of the world.
Mhm.
Needless to say, with air alerts all the time.
Is there any evidence that Iran has used their hypersonic
I
missile?
don't think so. I think what they're actually using is sort of
Mhm.
nothing new. Let's just put it this way: that they've made missiles for so many years. They're just trying to clear out their inventory, as far as I can tell, because there's about 15 different types of ballistic missiles with about all the generally the same range. The problem for Iran is that they've had to launch them farther back in the center of the country as opposed to towards the border, which would
Mhm.
increase the range. But that's kind of where it's getting screwed up because the Israelis were really good and they wiped out a whole bunch of things that were on the border, that is the border of Iran and Jordan or whatever. And
Mhm.
so that's kind of what's going on. And people don't get to know very much because they've enforced rules now that if you, in Israel, if you take a picture of anything, you can be arrested. It's they're under a real war footing.
Mhm.
Um, they, I think I've yet to see any reporting that actually they're going to put this law into effect, but you can see where that's going, right?
Indeed.
Um, that could happen in this country, needless to say. Darn those cell phones, showing what actual brutality looks like. Um, so that happened. uh, let's see what else. The U.S. response to this, of course, the first moment of showing that we were sort of gearing up was actually when they put all those B-2 bombers um, uh, in the at the Diego what's it uh, island base in the Indian Ocean, and uh, the was it Diego Garcia, whatever the hell it's called. So B-2 bombers are there. There's a bunch of them, and they moved air tankers because really what you need with all that kind of activity is air tankers, air refueling tankers.
Mhm.
So there are about 25 to 40 air tankers now that left the United States, and they're somewhere, arrayed in Europe, et cetera, all over the place. So that's kind of the other part of that was the front end of telling us that they've moved a second carrier group. So you have two carrier groups, I think one in the Mediterranean and one in near in the Gulf. So there's that. I think there are about 20 ships. You have, the one carrier group and a bunch of other things. So there's that. And then right after this started, of course, their threats went back and forth. When Iran was first attacked, that Iran threatened that if the U.S. It's still kind of weirdly, we're going to do this if you do that. The Iranians claim that they might if the United States enters, that they might mine, that is, sea mines, put in the Straits of Hormuz, which is the choke point for, it. It's just crazy stuff. But frankly, they could do it, um, which would hold up about 20% of the ship traffic in the world. So the stuff's happening. And it was interesting because the fact that Trump said, "Oh well, we're going to wait 2 weeks before we decide to do this," which is typical. He says 2 weeks all the time, and I know MSNBC last night did an entire block of all the times that Trump said 2 weeks. Infrastructure
Right.
week, 2 weeks, uh, tariffs, 2 weeks. So Trump is just full of it because he can't make a decision. He's really not very good at good at this stuff, and it really shows.
My
Um,
thoughts on that are that the US is working completely in cahoots with the Israelis, uh, pretending to be some kind of good or reasonable cop. But the whole point of the delay is to give Iran some chance to slip up in the US mind where they're going to launch some barrage at Israel that's very threatening,
yes,
overstepped because Iran has been responding in kind,
yes,
so in proportion. So
yes. It is
mm,
proportional with
mm,
respect. The response has been proportional. I think what's going to
mm,
happen is there's probably somebody, even though the top of the Revolutionary Guard Corps is gone, they probably have a plan. And if somebody decides they're going to drop a missile on Jerusalem, let's say, then the bets are off. That's what I think is going to happen.
mm. Oh shit, forgive
But,
me, Lord. I have sinned. Once you add the caldo, once you add your stock into the rice, no more stirring. You don't want to
oh,
disturb it.
right, right. Actually, yes.
Yeah.
It's got to do its
I think
do
we
its
have
thing.
so I think we have some wiggle room a little bit here since the grains have not absorbed much liquid.
Yeah,
The main reasoning for not touching it is that you're trying to get this uniform crust or singe or socarot on
yeah,
the bottom, the Maillard reaction on the rice. So
right, right.
soon, once we reduce a bit, we'll add back our pre-cooked vegetables
Yum.
in a decorative scene.
Okie dokie. How long are you going to
Mhm.
let it sit like? How long are you supposed to let it
Whew,
sit like
well,
that? 20 minutes or
this is going to take at least 15,
okay?
so you can slow down.
Well, we're getting close to. So
Oh,
I've spent
mm,
far too much time talking about Iran and Israel. Ukraine stuff still happening.
mm.
It's uh, all the usual stuff has happened.
Oh, forgive me, Lord. I shall sin one more time.
MSG.
Just a tiny pinch of ajiboto. Pick it up a notch.
Indeed. Indeed.
I'm getting
Bam.
a headache
Sorry,
already.
James. Oh, Lord.
Bam. Uh,
That's your racism giving it to
you
you.
mean Chinese restaurant
Oh,
syndrome?
Lordy.
Chinese restaurant syndrome. Yeah. Uh, in Ukraine matters, the war continues. Uh, there have been drone attacks. The Russians continue to shoot drones, and there's a lot of Ukrainian tech that is shooting down drones, which is kind of interesting. They have a whole new set of anti-drone drones, and so there's that. Um, More equipment has been transferred. Uh, there wasn't any. They did, I think, send something to hit something in a site near Moscow. So vulnerability is still there, and it's unclear where that thing got launched from. So that's interesting. Um, the upshot of their attack on the spider web uh, operation has forced the Russians to send um, their bombers incredibly long distances now. So, in order to launch missiles at Kiev, which at Ukraine, Kiev has been the major target. Uh, Not as many people as died in Kiev as in Tehran, but a lot of things got hit, and they managed to whack a portion of the Saint Sebastian Cathedral in Kiev, which it's been there since what, the 11th century or something, 13th century. The damn thing got hit, so that was interesting. It didn't catch completely on fire and only damaged a small portion. So there was that. Um, let's see what else. Uh, let's see.
Oh, someone's got their mic on.
I can't tell who has their.
It's
It's not on
John
your end.
Hayes.
Oh,
John
is it
Hayes.
John Hayes? Oh, there it is. Yes, there we go.
All people.
I got it. I got it. I got it. All righty. Anyway, so yes, Ukraine, and then I didn't even get to any of the domestic. Well, I started with domestic stuff. It's been a lot wackier. There's, uh, you know, Democrats were roughed up, have been roughed up, masked ICE people, folks, and the Iceman cometh, as they say. A lot of people got roughed up, and including politicians. They're not letting politicians, or they're restricting. That is, you have to give a 72-hour warning that you, as a congressperson, want to visit a holding facility, an ICE holding facility. And so there have been these events where congresspeople, Democrats, would come in and say, listen, I have the right to come in there, and they get refused entry. So there's that. Um, what is it? 15,000 people are in custody now. I can't remember. A five-figure number was thrown out today about how many people are in detention, and there's a whole bunch of discourse on whether you can or can't hold these people, whether you can or can't. They still haven't worked out whether they can send them to third countries, which they're trying to get away with. So there's that. Um, um, and these ICE people are pretty out of control, even though the Supreme Court, I think, or no, it's an appeals court, supported the idea that Trump has the right to federalize the California National Guard. So Gavin Newsom's complaint about control over the California National Guard is sort of going to go by the wayside, or at least at the appeals level it is. We'll see whether the Supreme Court's going to feel the same way. So that's kind of interesting. And the ICE people tried to, uh, on the prompting of a Fox News person, um, they wanted to go to the LA Dodgers baseball team's parking lot. The ICE people wanted to go in there and start harassing people. And the Dodgers told ICE to pound sand. And it wound up yesterday that the LA police were protecting the Dodgers, or the land, or Chavez Ravine, the site, from ICE. So that was kind of interesting to see that finally evolve, that the LA police would actually uh, uh, get away from their shooting rubber bullets at people with very little prompting. So that's it too. So there's it's been a busy week aside from flagpoles and um, stupid stuff. So we're getting towards the end of our little event here. John, tell us about Night Gallery tonight.
Tonight on Night Gallery, we have some very fine actors. John Colicos, who you may remember as Baltar on Battlestar Galactica.
Cool.
Um, we have Torrin Thatcher, who is a British actor. No relation to the Prime Minister, as far as I can tell. And thank God. And Hedley Mattingly. I don't know if you can get any more British than that. He's also in it.
Indeed.
It's called Lone Survivor. They find a ship in 1915 finds a lone survivor in a lifeboat from the HMS Titanic. And as you probably know, the HMS Titanic sank in 2012. No, 1912. Excuse me. 1912.
I did not, in fact, know that.
Yeah. So we have a mystery. Slip of the tongue there.
Everyone,
I'm not good with
everyone's
math.
favorite disaster. Okay, so
And
is
after
go ahead.
that, I will be completely out of character and against my better judgment, showing everybody the 1991 Ruben and Ed with Howard Hessman, Crispin Glover, and Karen Black. It's a desert road trip movie in the desert Southwest. Has to do with get rich quick schemes, uh, social anxiety, and self-help. Uh, it's a guaranteed fun time. I guarantee nobody's seen it. Judging by the box office, no one's seen it. So we're safe here. But it's a good one. I hope you like it. And there will
It
be
should be
slides. There will be slides.
excellent, excellent. It, it just makes it even better. I don't know if it's the most important Crispin Glover film, other than Back to the Future.
Or
Uh,
River's Edge, maybe.
oh yes, of course. But there's that.
Mm.
Crispin Glover having a weird kind of place in Hollywood history, I suppose.
Tenuous
Yeah,
relationship with the industry.
indeed, indeed.
Mhm.
You'll never have lunch in this town again. Anyway, um, John, you want to tell us about Star Trek on Sunday at 4 o'clock?
Yeah, so 4 o'clock on Sunday, we have Star Trek The Next Generation episode called A Matter of Honor. And I think it's a good one. Um, it involves an exchange program with a Klingon vessel. So Commander Riker goes over to the Klingon vessel, and a Klingon commander comes over to the Enterprise.
It's one of my favorites, if only because it reveals a little bit more about Klingon culture, and which is sort of
Yes,
interesting as well.
yes,
And
and also
uh,
Klingon cuisine.
oh, indeed.
Ooh.
Yes,
Are
indeed.
there many vegan options?
And no, I don't think there are any vegan options among the Klingons.
Pythias Claw. Yeah, anyway.
My favorite is the Breguet lung.
I have friggin' lung. Yeah, indeed. So yes, that will be fun. And after that, as Lane has informed me, it's episode 6 of the Beatles anthology. I don't know if Lane wants to add anything else. Uh, these have all been really good, and it's if you haven't seen them yet, this is an opportunity to watch. I think a good collection of more intimate stuff of that. So that's that. That will happen right after Star Trek on Sunday. Um, the class unity course will be meeting on the military industrial complex, or the war economy, and actually the readings are kind of good. I mean, if you don't understand anything about military procurement, not that you really should know, but in fact, it's nearly $1 trillion the American economy goes into that crap. Um, that's what the readings are. The readings are quite useful, I think, if you needed a kind of background sense on how the military economy goes, and obviously it's a critique of that. Um, so there's that, and that's on at 2 o'clock, or no, yeah, at noon, and then at 2 o'clock is
That's
it's at 2 o'clock. Let's put it that way. God, my brain is not working. At 2 o'clock on Saturday, I haven't yet decided which text of Marx that we might look at. It might be one of his pamphlets, and mainly because we need to get a better sense of Marx, the pamphleteer, as it were. His shorter pieces actually are, sort of real life things rather than theory. It's really praxis. They're pieces that he, would, speaking engagements out there for the Working Men's Association, et cetera. So there's that. So that's kind of where I'm headed with that. Other than that, we might, it's either the Grundrisse or the economic and philosophical manuscripts of 1844. Ha! I think that's all. Susanna is taking a break this summer, and we all wish her well. I think we all need to take a break. I should take a break. I haven't done that.
Three,
And
3 seasons and 4 episodes so far.
yes.
So little community announcement. Saturday evenings at 7 o'clock are free for anybody to book if they wanted to show a film or give a talk. It's all yours. Just message me in the Discord.
I will be doing so.
If no one steps up, I have some ideas about what to do in that place as well. Just to threaten that. And in fact, I might show it even earlier than 7 o'clock in order to allow our European folks to get better engaged with what we're doing. So we'll see. So that's that. Let's see what else is coming up. Oh, it's past the date, but yesterday was Juneteenth, the holiday to celebrate the end of slavery, even though it happened 2 years after in Texas.
Galveston.
Yeah.
Was it just Galveston or the
No, it was Texas
region?
itself. It was Texas itself.
Oh.
I don't know if there's a paper on it, but clearly slavery just kept on clicking along for a while. So that's interesting. Let's see.
One last test. Two last steps here. We need to do the spoon test. You don't want to disturb the paella. You want to disturb it as little as possible, but you need to know if the liquid has been absorbed and whether you've generated the crust. So you take it off the heat to let it steam a little and complete, and then you can just dig all the way down to the bottom. And we got a little bit there. And if you get sticky bits on the left, it looks like you're done. And then you can just push it back into place like nothing ever happened.
All
If
right.
it's not, then you just put it back on the high heat for about 30 seconds, and you'll hear, if you can hear it start to crackle.
Yeah.
Here we go. And then we're finished. About 30 seconds, and then it's done. And that's our blasphemous paella.
Blasphemous paella. Unconventional paella.
Paella bastarda con verduras.
Hola. Well, we're close to the end. Joe, are you ready?
I better turn. No, I don't want to burn this. Hold on before I switch to
we're not in a hurry.
Let's just take that off. There we go. Okay.
Anyway, we're going to stop. We'll do better next week. Thank you for your attention, folks. We'll try and do better.